On this Monday night, mourning Her Majesty.
She met the world. She was just like everybody's grandmother.
Thousands converge along Edinburgh's Royal Mile to pay their respects to the Queen. One photographer's memories of the monarch.
She thought it was absolutely hilarious.
And what happens to her picture on our money and stamps? Plus, a royal insider's reflections on the new king.
He is a man of the people. He has always been a man of the people.
My interview with the Queen's former press secretary. Breaking news tonight, a shooting in Ontario that's left 2 people dead, including a police officer. And Russia's retreat.
Slava Ukraine!
Ukraine makes swift gains in a startling counteroffensive.
Global National with Donna Friesen, reporting tonight from London.
Tonight, a poignant moment at St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. The Queen's children standing by her coffin, surrounding it, holding a vigil to their mother while the TV cameras recorded it. Millions knew her as the Queen, but to her children, she was a mother. Sadness etched on the face of the new king. Earlier, for the first time, members of the public began filing past Her Majesty's coffin, paying their respects. Hundreds of thousands are expected to do the same in Edinburgh and in London over the coming week. Earlier, the Queen's children, led by King Charles, walked in step and in silence behind the hearse as it carried the coffin along Edinburgh's historic Royal Mile to St. Giles Cathedral, where it will lie in rest until tomorrow afternoon. This morning, King Charles invoked his mother's spirit again as he thanked Parliament for their condolences.
As Shakespeare says of the earlier Queen Elizabeth, she was a pattern to all princes living.
Good evening from London. We're overlooking Westminster Abbey, where the Queen's funeral will take place 1 week from now. Over the coming days, the public will have their chance to say farewell. Tonight in Edinburgh, an estimated 20,000 people are lining up to pay their final respects. It's become one of the largest public events Scotland has ever seen. Global's Crystal Goomansingh is there. Crystal?
Donna, people have been waiting all day, and they will be waiting all night for the opportunity to say an up-close and personal goodbye to the Queen. It turns out today, goodbyes have been incredibly difficult. A perfectly timed march with a cadence matching the beat of the nation's breaking heart.
I've lost both my parents. Not easy, but when you're in the limelight, like there, and they don't have time to grieve privately, very hard.
You can't help but think of people that you've lost.
Tears flowed on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. More wanted to be a part of the historic scene, but police officers were forced to shut down all roads and stairways leading to the procession route. The demand overwhelming like the moment.
I feel privileged. Privileged to say goodbye to the head of state, the sovereign, who I took oath of allegiance to. It just goes to show how gracious not just Her Majesty the Queen is, but the King and the royal family to allow the public, through their mother, to let the people rejoice in the fantastic work that she did while she was with us.
The Queen's 4 children, led by King Charles III, followed their mother's coffin into St. Giles Cathedral. The solid gold crown of Scotland presented to Her Majesty one final time.
We gather to bid Scotland's farewell to our late monarch, whose life of service to the nation and the world we celebrate, and whose love for Scotland was legendary.
This is the cue to go inside the cathedral to actually view the coffin and pay final respects. But everyone in this massive, massive line already has a wristband. There's an entirely different line for people looking to get their wristbands.
I did quite enjoy Queen Elizabeth just from her determination, because when she said she'll never abdicate, and she truthfully never did. So I do respect her for that.
Who is that?
Paddington.
The Paddington Bear skit from the Platinum Jubilee celebration, one of the last big joys gifted to us by the Queen.
Happy Jubilee, ma'am. And thank you for everything.
That's very kind.
That is such a special moment now, and people here in Edinburgh will be thinking about all kinds of different moments as they have the opportunity to file past the coffin until Tuesday afternoon. Then the Princess Royal will once again accompany her mother's coffin. This time it will be flown back to London around 8 p.m., arriving in London, and then that will begin the London-based farewells. Donna?
All right, Crystal Goomansingh in Edinburgh, thanks. 2 days ago, we saw Prince Harry and his wife appear alongside his brother, the Prince of Wales, and his wife. They were greeting crowds gathered outside Windsor Palace. Well, today, Prince Harry released a tribute to his grandmother. Harry thanked her for her sound advice and infectious smile. He described her as a guiding compass and wrote, "I am forever grateful for all our first meetings, from my earliest childhood memories to the first moment you met my darling wife and hugged your beloved great-grandchildren." The Queen's coffin will be flown here to London from Edinburgh tomorrow and be taken by hearse to Buckingham Palace. People are already camping out to try to catch a glimpse of the Queen's final return to the palace. This is the Mall, a street that connects Buckingham Palace and Trafalgar Square. Maria Scott and 6 of her friends claimed their spot on Saturday and say they plan to stay right through to the Queen's funeral next Monday.
I wanted to come here to get a good spot to pay my respects to Her Majesty the Queen, and you have got to be here early. But she gave 70 years of valet service to us, and 10 days is nothing.
Exact numbers are hard to predict, but it's thought more than 1 million people will line up to pay their respects to the Queen as she lies in state in London. People are being told they'll have to stand for long periods, possibly all night, and will have to pass through airport-style security. The funeral for the Queen will take place Monday, the 19th, at Westminster Abbey. Behind me, you can hear them getting ready for it now, and we'll have live coverage as the royal family and people from around the world say goodbye to the longest reigning monarch in history. We have some breaking news out of Ontario tonight. A police officer has been shot and killed. Peel Regional Police say they responded to an incident in Mississauga, Ontario, possibly a carjacking, this afternoon. Global's Brittany Rosen is with me from Mississauga tonight. Brittany, what else are the police saying?
Well, Donna, at this time, police say that there is no threat to public safety. But as you can see behind me, this scene here in Mississauga, which is just outside of Toronto, remains incredibly active. We are in a retail shopping plaza where multiple sources tell Global News that a Toronto police officer, so someone that is not from this jurisdiction, was shot and killed, and another person was rushed to a trauma center. So the scene behind me remains, again, very fluid, very active. We are seeing multiple officers and cop cruisers, detectives and investigators. They're congregating by a Tim Hortons that is behind me, and we're paying particular attention to a drive-through there. And, you know, this scene is also incredibly large. Police have cordoned off a significant portion of this retail shopping plaza. But at this hour, Donna, what we know so far is Peel police were called here just after 2 p.m. It was first reported that one person was shot, but we later learned that 2 people were involved in this shooting, and one of them is a Toronto police officer. It appears that this is reportedly stemming from a carjacking. That is what multiple police sources have told Global News. I can tell you, Donna, that a person has been arrested, and police say the suspect has now died. Back to you.
All right, Brittany Rosen in Mississauga tonight. Thanks. Russian forces retreat. Coming up, the counteroffensive that has Ukrainians celebrating. Ukraine has mounted a swift counteroffensive against Russian forces and within a matter of days have taken back significant parts of the east of the country. Eric Sorensen explains.
It has been a stunning reversal. Ukrainian troops have swept into Kharkiv region, sending Russian troops who've controlled the area fleeing. In village after village, Ukrainian fighters have moved in, welcomed by local residents.
Slava Ukraine!
Ukrainian flags raised once more across the region. This man says the Russians were here, then started shouting and running away, charging off in their tanks. The mayor of Derhachi tore up the Russian flag amid cheers. The Ukrainian military posted pictures of abandoned Russian tanks and equipment. It is not the first major retreat. Last winter, Russia controlled Crimea and Donetsk. The start of the war saw a military onslaught from multiple directions. Eventually, Russians pulled back to maintain a hold on much of eastern Ukraine. But in recent days, a Ukrainian counteroffensive around Kharkiv has taken back about 3,000 square kilometers of territory, according to Ukraine. President Zelensky addressed the Ukrainian forces, saying the world is impressed, the enemy is panicking. The gains are believed to be crucial for Ukraine to maintain political support and military supplies from its allies.
It's probably the most significant battle and moment of this war. Ukraine needed to demonstrate to its Western backers, the United States, many European nations, Canada included, that it does have a chance to win this war.
In Moscow, the Russian retreat was called a regrouping operation. But even on Russian television, signs of discontent with how the war is going. This former member of the State Duma declaring that Vladimir Putin was badly advised about what could be achieved.
And it could mean that the knives are coming out for Vladimir Putin right now.
The fear is that Putin will respond with greater brutality. Russian airstrikes destroyed a power plant on the weekend, plunging much of Kharkiv into darkness. But for now, across Ukraine, spirits have been lifted. After months of enduring Russian destruction, in the recaptured community of Hoptivka, troops declare the task is complete. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
The new federal Conservative leader has told his caucus he'll fight for the working class. Pierre Poilievre claims the Liberal government is out of touch with the struggles faced by ordinary Canadians. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau fired back, accusing Poilievre of fear-mongering. Abigail Beeman and David Aiken are standing by to unpack this for us. We begin with David in Ottawa.
A new leader, Donna, and some renewed confidence among Conservative MPs that they think they have now found the leader that can beat the Trudeau Liberals. In his first speech as leader of his caucus, Pierre Poilievre stuck to the same messages that won him his resounding victory Saturday night.
We as Conservatives are always happy to work with any party to collaborate and extend and advance the interests of Canadians. We are, but there will be no compromise on this point. Conservatives will not support any new tax increases, and we will fight tooth and nail to stop the coalition from introducing any.
The new leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition will get his first chance to lock horns with the Prime Minister a week from Tuesday.
I'm Abigail Beeman in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, where the Liberal caucus is meeting ahead of the fall parliamentary session. And now that they know who their main opponent will be, they can better focus as to how to gear up against the official opposition. And the Prime Minister had some harsh words for his new rival in his first public comments since Poilievre's win on Saturday.
Buzzwords, dog whistles, and careless attacks don't add up to a plan for Canadians. Attacking the institutions that make our society fair, safe, and free is not responsible leadership.
Justin Trudeau acknowledged people are struggling and spoke about the need to focus on building a strong economy in the face of inflation. MPs are also getting ready to head back to Ottawa earlier than expected. The House sits Thursday for a special session to commemorate the Queen's passing. Donna?
Abigail, thanks. Ahead, a one-on-one with the Queen's former press secretary. His thoughts on her cause of death. There aren't too many people who know what it's like to be in the palace during a crisis. Dickie Arbiter was the Queen's press secretary for 12 years between 1988 and 2000. And for a time, he managed the press for Princess Diana and then Prince Charles. I spoke with him recently and started by asking him if we know what happened to the Queen in the final days of her life.
We don't know what happened.
We don't know what she died of.
We don't.
Do you think we ever will know?
I doubt we ever will. And she seemed bright as a button when she met Liz Truss. Her brain was razor sharp, always razor sharp. And she had that lovely radiant smile, even at 96.
She was sparkling.
It was terrific. Yeah. And then shortly thereafter, she sent a message to Canada, to Governor General, over the killings in Saskatchewan. Yeah. And that was her last message. But we don't know what happened.
Are you surprised by the number of people who have turned out along that route in Scotland?
No, the Queen was loved. The Queen was respected. She'd been with us a long time. And
the majority of people in the United Kingdom didn't know anybody else, didn't know any other sovereign. I was born in 1940, so I remember when the king died in 1952. I remember the coronation. I remember when the then Princess Elizabeth first rode out on Trooping the Colour. I was 7 at the time. So I've got all these memories, and here we are again reliving those memories because another sovereign has passed on.
It must be quite something for you personally.
It is something for me personally, having worked for her for 12 years and having been, I'm a monarchist, I believe in the monarchy, I don't think there's any other alternative. With a queen or a king, like the queen, 70 years on the throne, there was continuity, she had respect, not just the UK, but global respect. Global respect in her realm states, like Canada, Queen of Canada.
Could you take us back to what it might have been like, what you think it might have been like in the palace when it became clear that the Queen was dying, or perhaps had already died?
Well, the palace don't panic, one thing. It was very clear that the Queen was not 100% well, not 100% fit, and it wasn't a question of if, but when. So plans would have been taken out and the dust blown off them, and they would have started making arrangements.
We can hear the work going on right near us now. We're right near the Houses of Parliament. This whole area, I expect, will be flooded with people, right, for the lying in state. People will be so anxious to try to pay their respects.
Well, King George VI in 1952 was well over 400,000 people. I would have thought that probably, if they manage it properly, that probably in excess of 1 million people will go through in the 4 days. Everybody will want to go. Judging by what's been happening at Buckingham Palace, people most certainly will want to go and pay their respects because it is history. It is living history.
As you watch the transition from Prince Charles to King Charles III, what did you make of how his demeanor, how he has handled things, at least from a public perspective?
The King got everything absolutely 101% right. Back in London, the car stopped short of the North Centre gate of Buckingham Palace. He and the Queen Consort got out. They did a walkabout. They talked to mourners. They were very relaxed. They were smiling, and it was striking just the right chord. He is a man of the people. He has always been a man of the people. So what he did outside Buckingham Palace was absolutely spot on. When he went in and he gave his television address, that too was pitch perfect. He said all the right things, he felt them. He talked about his mama. He talked about her joining his beloved father. So it was a perfect address. So yeah, he is getting stuck in and doing what is to be done. So the transition is smooth. That's how the monarchy works. There isn't a gap. The Queen is dead, long live the King. That's how it works. The royal standard never comes down because the sovereign is always alive.
Dickie Arbiter, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, the priceless story behind the Queen's portrait you probably have in your wallet. The Queen was the most photographed woman in the world, captured on iPhones and by official photographers, most often during formal events, but in intimate moments with her family too. And her image, of course, is everywhere, on money, stamps, and countless other items across the Commonwealth. So what happens to all that now? Jeff Semple went to find out.
Her face is perhaps the most photographed in history. And some of the most iconic images of Queen Elizabeth II were snapped by Ian Jones. Over 30 years, the royal photographer captured countless moments from around the world. But one image in particular is distinctly Canadian.
So Canadians know this picture very well.
Yes.
They may not know that you took this photograph.
Possibly not, no. They know who's on it.
In 2012, Jones was invited to Buckingham Palace to take a photo of the Queen for Canada's new $20 bill. But when the Queen arrived, Jones realized the office chair they'd prepared was much too tall.
So when she sat down in the chair, her toes just about to touch the floor. And the tiptoey sort of little skip around, so she ended up sort of rotating on her toes with this glint in her eye, and she thought it was absolutely hilarious. But what it did prompt was a wonderful glint and a smile, and that really set the tone for the portrait session.
The Queen's image and mark are ubiquitous, found on everything from post boxes and stamps to flags and tea tins. And the ascension of a new monarch will now require a major royal rebranding. The British national anthem has now changed back to God Save the King. New currency featuring Charles's portrait will be produced after his coronation, but it'll likely be a while before he gives his mother a run for her money. The Queen's image is featured on coins across the Commonwealth. At one time, she appeared on 33 different currencies, the most of any monarch.
We have a series of coins.
Over her record reign, her image was updated 5 times, charting her evolution as sovereign.
So now, for the first time ever in most of our lives, we're going to see more than one monarch on the coins of the realm.
And the same goes for stamps. This profile, first issued in 1966, has been reproduced 320 billion times, more than any artwork in history. The UK will now stop producing these stamps, but like the Queen's currency, they'll still be accepted.
They will fall out of circulation slowly, but I imagine the coins of Elizabeth will be circulating for many decades to come.
Her reign is over, but we'll carry her with us for years to come. Jeff Semple, Global News, London.
That is Global National for this Monday from overlooking Westminster Abbey in London. I'm Donna Friesen. Preparations are well underway here for the state funeral on Monday that will attract leaders from all over the world, and it's expected a multitude of other people. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.